Welcome to another edition of Weathering the Storm of Life with the Rains. Rob Rains here, Sally Tippett Rains, STLSportsPage.com. As we all kind of get through this quarantine period at home with no sports, we're looking for some other things to do. If you already watched the initial episode of the program, you realize that we're going to be doing some quizzes, just for some fun ideas, fun things to kind of keep your mind working a little bit and to kind of hopefully pass the time and have a little bit of fun here as we wait for the sports world to return. One of the things, if you did see the first edition of this show and had the answer to some of these St. Louis sports questions, we mentioned that we forgot to bring up a copy of the Mark McGwire Home Run Hero book that I wrote a number of years ago, which was translated into Chinese and Japanese. If you never saw it, it's pretty interesting because there it is. And you can see you open the book in backwards and you read it this way. So it's really kind of bizarre.
There's no pictures, is there?
I don't see any pictures. It is one of the few honest times that I can really say I have no idea what I wrote. So, but that was that. So if we promised that in the last edition. So a couple of things we want to mention real quick about this about the what's going on with the coronavirus before we get to the questions for today's quiz. One of our good friends is Darlene Slyman Casson, who has helped one of the people in charge of the Slyman Brothers Appliances. They've got a really neat idea. What we want to do from you guys is we all kind of get through this thing together, is if you have an interesting idea or somebody in your neighborhood is doing something fun or a company that you're involved with is doing something fun, we'd like to hear about it so we can kind of promote that on the website and help people, give them some information that will hopefully help them get through this. And that's something that the Slyman Brothers is doing.
Well, during this time, we can't go out to eat very much, just getting takeout, and so we're at home. So a lot of us who don't cook as much are cooking more. Maybe your oven breaks and you need a new oven, but you can't go out in the middle of the crowd. So the Slyman Brothers have a great idea. You contact their stores either through their website or their phone number, and they will do a FaceTime with you and show you around. So let's say you're looking for a freezer because you're trying to store up all the food so you'll have plenty of food. Just call them up and say, I'm looking for a freezer. And they will take you around the store with their camera or their phone or whatever and do a FaceTime with you. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way of doing things.
Yeah, so anybody else who's heard of anything unique like that going on, we'd love to hear about it. You can email us at stlsportspage@gmail.com, and we'll get all that information from you. So without further ado, we're going to move on to today's quiz. It was courtesy of our good friend Gene Ackman who came up with the idea, and we added a few more questions to it to make it longer. So if you got a piece of paper out and pen, you want to write down the answers to the questions. We're going to go through all the questions first. Just sit there and think about them as we go along, but we'll go through all the questions first, and then we'll come back and give you the answers. So it's about the Andy Griffith TV show. And people who don't know about the Andy Griffith show, they actually do a Mayberry Days Festival each year at the end of September in North Carolina, and we were going to try to go last year, but unfortunately it doesn't work out with the timing of the end of the baseball season generally to go. So but it's one of those kind of little small town Americana festivals I think that people would probably enjoy.
And it's one of the things that I was noticing is everybody's so upset and stressed out and worried about this whole what's going on. I won't say the word, but one of the things that really calms you down is watching a good old black and white TV show. And the other day I just turned on the Andy Griffith show, and it just really kind of centers you.
So here we go. The questions for the Andy Griffith show. Question 1, who was the town barber? Who was the town barber?
Number 2, what was Barney's middle name on the show?
Okay. Question 3, as long as we're on middle names, what was Andy's middle name on the show?
I will say Gene is an expert on Andy Griffith.
Taylor was his last name, if you don't remember.
Yes.
You get a little bit confused because Andy Griffith, he was also still named Andy on the show. Question 4, the show took place in Mayberry, but what was the nearby city that sometimes they ventured to or it was referenced in the show?
And I was glad you didn't just give this away. What is the real town in North Carolina that was supposedly the setting for the show?
Well, I wouldn't have given it away if you actually read the answer right here because you misspelled it.
Oh.
But that does. but spelling doesn't count. Yes, okay. Question 6, we mentioned the name of the barber, and this is going to kind of give it away maybe, but what was Floyd's last name on the show? If you got question 1 right, you're going to get question 6 right probably.
All right, what was Barney's favorite thing to say about heading off problems? We're going to have to... And then you get your answer.
Question 8, there were 2 mayors mentioned on the show over the course of the show's history. Name one mayor's last name. The two mayors
Anybody got that?
of Mayberry.
You are smart.
I remembered it when I heard it, but I wouldn't have come up with the answer.
Yeah.
No. Now, what were the question 8 then? What was the first names of the fun girls on the show? The first names of the fun girls on the show. Okay.
Who was it that always prepared dinner for Andy and Opie?
Okay. Question 11. Did Gomer and Goober ever appear together on the show? Gomer and Goober. Were they ever together on the show?
Number 12. What was Barney's longtime girlfriend? What was her name on the show? Barney's longtime girlfriend.
Question 13. Several famous actors had roles on different episodes of the show before they were big stars. Name at least one of them. We have several.
When you see the answers,
We have several.
It's very interesting.
Pretty fun, yeah.
Yep.
Question 14. Regarding the jail, Barney told the prisoners, here at the Rock, which is what he called it, we have 2 rules. Obey all the rules and do not write on the walls. What was the name of the town drunk who was usually in one of those cells?
All right. Number 15 in the episode Man in a Hurry. When Opie thinks Mr. Tucker might be spending the night, and he's excited because Opie thinks he's going to be able to do a adventure sleeping. What is adventure sleeping on that episode?
Next question is question 16. Leon, who is Ron Howard's brother in real life, was known for always having what with him in the show? What was Leon's real name, and what did he always have in his hand?
Yeah, Leon was his name on the show.
On the show, okay. Leon was named on the show, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many jail cells were there on the show?
How many cells in the jail? Okay. Question 18. What was Aunt Bee's friend Clara's last name? 2 were referenced on the show. Name one.
In the Andy Griffith's opening song, the opening credits, what are Andy and Opie doing?
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. You're all singing, I know.
In the episode Opie the Birdman, Opie raises 3 baby birds after he accidentally killed the baby bird's mother with his slingshot. What did he name the 3 birds?
Later, when the show went to color, a new character appeared as the county clerk. What was the name of the county clerk on the show?
That was question 21. We have 2 more questions, and then we'll be done with the quiz for today. The Darling Music family appeared in 6 episodes. What was the name of the daughter of one of those people in the family who had her eye on Andy?
I know all my friends from the Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival in Marshfield, Missouri will know the answer to that one. The last one, what was Opie's school teacher's name? And she was Andy's main girlfriend on the show.
Okay, so hope you had time to come up with all your answers. Now we'll go through the questions. Again, thanks to our friend Gene Ackman for coming up with most of the questions here about the Andy Griffith Show. Coming up on some of the future quiz shows that we're going to be bringing to you here on a regular basis. We have one about famous Missourians. We have one about movie quotes. We have one about Christmas movies. We have one about St. Louis restaurants, and just a bunch of other topics. So if you've got some ideas for questions, either whether you know all the answers, all the questions or not, or just have a great, what do you think would be a great topic for a quiz, just shoot us an email at stlsportspage.com, stlsportspage@gmail.com.
Yes, and it doesn't have to be about sports. And
No.
we know our audience is people from stlsportspage.com that are sports fans, and then we also have people from Rainbows for Kids, some of the families out there who want to say hi to you. We know it's a tough time on you all, too, and we're able to have the 2 platforms with our charity and our business to do this sort of thing. So we'll try to keep it away from strict sports and just have fun categories.
All right, question 1. Here are the answers. The Andy Griffith Show trivia. Who was the town barber? Floyd. Floyd was the first name of the town barber.
How about Barney's middle name?
He had 2 different middle names were mentioned on the show, either Milton or Oliver, and the initial P was all referenced at different times during the show.
So was his name Barney Milton Fife? Was Barney his actual name, or was that his nickname? Gene?
That'd be a question for Gene Ackman. I'm not sure. Question 3. Andy's middle name on the show was Jackson. Andrew Jackson Taylor. Question 4. The show took place in Mayberry, but the county seat where people referenced oftentimes on the show, Mount Pilot. And question 5. The real name in North Carolina of the city that was actually supposedly the setting for Mayberry was called, still is, Mount Airy, North Carolina.
How do you spell Mount Airy?
A-I-R-Y.
Oh, okay.
Not A-E-R-I-E, which is how you spelled it on the quiz sheet here. Question 6, Floyd's last name. We gave you the name Floyd the barber, so now you just had to come up with his last name, which was Lawson.
Floyd Lawson. You remember that the minute you hear that.
Mm-hmm. As you do when you hear the next question, Barney's favorite thing to say about heading off problems?
Nip it in the bud.
2 mayors on the show. This is question 8. There were 2 mayors on the show. Name one of the mayor's last names. It was either Mayor Pike or Mayor Stoner.
Mayor Stoner, that's an interesting...
I do remember Mayor Pike more than the other one. The first names of the fun girls on the show, that was question 9. Daphne and Skippy. I have to say, I did not know that question.
I don't remember that one either. But everybody knew who prepared the meals at the...
Taylor household.
Yes.
Aunt Bee. And then we have Gomer and Goober. Did they ever appear together on the show? The answer was yes, one time. Fun fact from Gene is that Goober's last name eventually became Pyle on the show like Gomer, but prior to that, his last name on the show was Beasley. You could probably win a
Goober Beasley.
trivia night question or two with that answer to that question. So.
We can't do trivia nights because we have
that's
our
true, more than 10
quarantined
people.
Groups of less than 10, so...
What was Barney's the last name of, or not the last name, Barney's girlfriend's long name on the show, the longtime girlfriend for Barney was Thelma Lou.
Thelma Lou.
That was question 12. Question 13. Several famous actors had roles on different episodes of the show before they went on to become big stars elsewhere. Name at least one of them. The list from Gene was Jack Nicholson, Bill Bixby, George Kennedy, Buddy Ebsen, Morgan Brittany, and of course, Ron Howard. Pretty cool.
Regarding the jail, Barney told the prisoners, "Here at the Rock we have 2 rules. Obey all the rules and do not write on the walls." What was the name of the town drunk? Otis Campbell. Nobody could forget Otis.
In the episode Man in a Hurry, when Opie thinks Mr. Tucker might be spending the night, and he's excited because Opie thinks he's going to get to, as he calls it, adventure sleeping. What is adventure sleeping? It was sleeping on the ironing board between 2 chairs.
I thought about that. Sleeping on the ironing board.
I don't think I want to try that. No.
That would be very. If you turned over, it could be a loud crash.
Also, it depends on how high up the chairs were off the ground.
I know. Well, everybody knows Ron Howard always got his brother involved in things, so go ahead and tell us about that.
Yeah, Leon was his name, but what was his real name? What did he always have with him? Clint Howard, of course, was his real name, and it was a peanut butter sandwich.
Hey, speaking of that just made me think of it. Clint Howard always had a peanut butter sandwich on that show. How about, what did Larry Mondello always have on Leave It to Beaver?
I don't remember.
He always had an apple in his hand.
Oh, okay.
Don't you remember? And then he'd start talking to the beaver and take a big chunk out of his apple.
Question 17. Back to Andy Griffith. How many cells were there in the jail in the sheriff's office? The answer was 2. Question 18. What was Aunt Bee's friend Clara's last name? 2 were mentioned or referenced to on the different episodes of the show. One of them was Clara Edwards, the other Clara Johnson.
I remembered the Clara Edwards the most.
Mm-hmm. Question 19. In the opening song, what was Andy and Opie doing walking to the fishing pond? Question 20. In the episode Opie the Birdman, Opie raises 3 baby birds after he accidentally killed their mother with a slingshot. He named the birds Lincoln, Blinken, and Nod.
And the county clerk was Howard Sprague.
Last 2 questions. The Darling music family appeared in 6 episodes. What was the first name of the daughter who had her eye on Andy? Charlene Darling, who's been a frequent guest at the Cherry Blossom Festival down in Marshville. Unfortunately, that had to be canceled this spring as well because of all the restrictions on travel. Yes,
and those of you who don't know about the Cherry Blossom Festival in Missouri, you should look it up. cherryblossomfest.com, I think it is, but you could Google it. It's a really awesome festival that they have every year.
And the final question for this edition of the quiz, what was Opie's school teacher's name? She was Andy's main girlfriend, Helen Crump. So again, thanks to Gene Ackman for those questions. If you've got some more questions that you'd like to send in to us, we'd love to get them at stlsportspage@gmail.com. We'll be doing more frequent quizzes here as we try to have at least one fun activity for everybody as we get through all of this stuff together. So thanks for joining Rob Raines, Sally Tippett Raines here on this edition of Weathering the Storms of Life with the Raises. We'll see you again real soon with another episode coming up here on stlsportspage.com. Also, rainbowsforkids.org.